Good morning or afternoon, depending on when you're watching this video. I hope you guys are doing well. Here is the lesson for 9.2, multiplying polynomials. And if you would be so kind, Mr. Carr, to pause this when I say pause, that would be helpful so the kids can copy down their notes. Okay, quick little reminder, just getting us going. All right, a reminder, if you have x squared plus 2x squared, what does that actually equal, right? To x squared plus 2x squared, the exponents don't change here. I'm just combining like terms, and I end up with 3x squared. However, if I were to multiply x squared times 2x squared, if I'm multiplying, I multiply the constants, so there's a 1 in front of this x, the coefficients, and I have 1 times 2, which is 2, and x squared times x squared is x times x times x times x, that's x to the 4th power. So keep in mind when it's multiplication, our exponent rules take into effect. So here we go. Let's start with the first example. Today's all about multiplying polynomials. Let's start with a monomial by a polynomial. So we're going to multiply a monomial by a polynomial. Excuse me as I spell that wrong. So monomial times a polynomial. So the example I'm going to give you today is 2x cubed. So 2x cubed times x cubed plus 3x squared minus 2x plus 5. And that's a cube. So if this was just a 2 here, most of you know that if I'm multiplying 2, I'd have to distribute. That's exactly what we do here. And I'll write that off to the side. Distribute. We're going to multiply that 2x cubed times everything that's in here. So 2x cubed times 1x cubed is 2x, and exponents add in this case to the 6th power, because it's x times x times x times x times x. Then I'm going to distribute that 2x cubed times positive 3x squared. So I have positive 3 times 2 is 6. X cubed times x squared is x to the 5th power. Distribute that 2x cubed to the negative 2x. So negative 2 times positive 2 is a negative 4. And an x cubed times another x is x to the 4th power. And last but not least, I'm going to multiply 2x cubed times a positive 5, which is positive 10x cubed. These are all different terms because this is to the 6th power, 5th power, 4th power, 3rd power. Therefore, I cannot do anything further. I cannot actually add or subtract as I don't have like terms. Okay? Those are pretty straightforward, and I think you guys will do great here. Example number 2 is where we get a little bit trickier. Okay, and the book has many different ways of attacking this problem. I'm pretty much going to show you one method. You can look at the book and use different methods, but I'm going to show you one method that I think most students are familiar with or are most comfortable with. So the first problem of this type, here's a polynomial, a trinomial, right? So this is a x squared minus 2x. Let's do plus 1. I'm going to change that to plus 1 times a binomial. So this is x minus 2. So this is a polynomial by a binomial. Really doesn't matter. You can actually, technically, you can use this method with any combination of polynomials. This is called the table or the box method. So we're actually going to create a little box. It doesn't matter who you put on the horizontal. So I'm going to put x squared here, the negative 2x here, the positive 1 here, and then I'm going to make a little box. And I put my x from this part of the binomial and the negative 2 here. What we're ultimately going to be doing is distributing. We're going to distribute this x times the x squared, the x times the negative 2x, and the x times the 1. That's what we're going to do in these boxes, is we're going to multiply the x times the x squared, x times negative 2x, x times positive 1. So we're distributing that x, and then we're going to multiply this negative 2 times this trinomial. So I'll be multiplying the 2. So let's start inside the table. I do x times x squared, which gives me x cubed. Then I'm going to do x times negative 2x, gives me negative 2x squared, and positive 1x times a positive 1 is a positive x. Then I multiply here. I have x squared times negative 2, that's a negative 2x squared. Negative 2 times negative 2x is a positive 4x. And negative 2 times a positive 1 is negative 2. Once you do that, you look to see if you have any like terms. So if you notice, my greatest degree is x cubed, and I don't have any other x cubes. So I have my 1x cubed. Then I have these guys. I have negative 2x squareds and another negative 2x squareds. So I have a total of negative 4x squareds. For my x to the first powers, I have a 4x and plus 1x, so that's a positive 5x. And then I have this constant of negative 2. These are all different terms to the third degree, second degree, first degree, 0 degree. That is as far as I can go. And I have just multiplied that polynomial by the binomial. I'll pause here in case you need to copy down your work. All right. What I'd like you to do, here's example number 3. I'm going to write down the problem and I'd like you to try it yourself. I'd like you to try negative r plus 7 times 2r squared minus r minus 9. Go ahead and try that on your own. So please pause this here. All right, I hope you did well. Here we go. I'm going to go ahead and make my box. Again, it doesn't matter who goes in the numerator, who goes in the denominator. I mean, numerator and denominator, what am I talking about? Who goes up here versus down here. We could make this a longer one. It doesn't matter where these numbers go as long as you keep them, you know, the negative r and the positive 7 together and this polynomial together here. Here we go. Check your answers. This should be a negative 2r cubed plus r squared plus 9r. This would be 14r squared minus 7r minus 63. So your final answer, check your answer, negative 2r cubed plus 15r squared plus 2r minus 63. How did you do? Fantastic. Okay. I have 2 last things and you'll be on your way, or you can revisit this video. I will have posted on my YouTube page or on Edmodo as well. Let's talk about multiplying binomials, a binomial by a binomial. Now this is kind of special, okay? A binomial by a binomial. So an example of this would be 4b minus 5 times b minus 2. Now we could absolutely make the table method, just like we did before, and multiply, combine like terms. But I want you to see something. Really what the box method is the distributive property in disguise, correct? So I'm going to take this b, and I'm going to let's take this 4b, and I'm going to multiply this 4b times the b. I'm going to distribute that 4b to the b. So 4b times b is 4b squared. Then I'm going to distribute this 4b to the negative 2, so I get negative 8b. Then I'm going to distribute this negative 5 to the b, so I have negative 5b. And I'm going to distribute this negative 5 to the negative 2, and again, this is all multiplication. I have positive 10. If you notice, I have like terms right here. These are both to the first power. So my 4b squared stays as 4b squared. I can combine my 8b's and my 5b's and get negative 13b plus 10. Now, there's a special little acronym. Did I do something wrong? No. There's a small little acronym that I want you to see that some of you might have already met before called FOIL. FOIL stands for first, outer, inner, last. Sorry, I went to do outer first, so that's outer. First, outer, inner, last. First, outer, inner, last. What this means when we say FOIL is doing the distributive property, but in a specific order, in the order we just did. First means that I multiply the first two terms of my binomials. So this is the first term, this is the first term. So I multiply that 4b times the b. That's what we did. Outer stands for the outer two numbers, which we did. We distributed that 4b to the negative 2. That was our outer term. Inner means the inner two terms, so that negative 5 times the b. And last stands for the two last terms, to multiply those together to get that. FOIL is kind of important when it comes to the following lessons. So while the box method I think is wonderful and it works all the time, foiling and understanding kind of how where these numbers come from is pretty critical for future assignments. So what I'd like you to do is using the FOIL method. So this would be example number, what are we on? Example number 5. I would like you to use the FOIL method to multiply 3x plus 4 times x plus 2. Please pause it here. All right, I hope you did great. So using the FOIL method, first, there's my first, 3x times x is 3x squared. The outer is 3x times 2, which would be a positive 6x. The inner is 4 times x, which is just 4x. And the last would be 4 times 2, which is positive 8. I combine those inner two numbers because they are like terms to get that positive 10x plus 8, and we are done. All right, I hope you can attack this well, and I will see you on Monday. Have a wonderful weekend.